I'm going to show you a new technique that I haven't put in the class before. So it's not going to be kind of synced up with the progression of videos. In fact, I'm jumping ahead, but I think it's better to have it here so you're aware of it and you can start to put it into your scene, and then the rest of the videos may be a little off, but I mean, I don't think it'll. So just to point out what's going on. This is kind of a typical scene from the test room. You know, I probably have a few fixtures here that you don't recognize, but you can see that there's a lot of like very kind of high contrast going on. And it doesn't really resemble how the room really would look if we had all these light sources going. I can only speculate why that is. I'm pretty certain because we're using kind of a real-time engine that it doesn't want, you know, typically if you have a light source, it's going to bounce off every surface, and every time it hits a surface and reflects back, it's going to add more light into that space than what we're having here. My guess is that's what's happening because it's real-time engine rendering. It's only bouncing maybe once or twice because every bounce, it just kind of adds processing time. So there's a lot of light amplification that we're not getting. So we have this high contrast. So what we need to do is we need to fake it. So what I've learned from your predecessors, because the students kind of really get into the renderings, and they've given me back the feedback that what we're missing is what's called studio lights. So if you don't have a studio light, what you can do is insert load family and go to the lighting, architectural, internal. And once you get in there, you'll have, you're just going to click on the studio light. And what it is a light source that doesn't have really any object. You're not going to see anything. You'll just get the light emanating from it. Okay. So once we do that, we're just going to go in and go to systems, and we're going to do lighting fixture, and it should be here, but if you don't see it immediately, just go and then click on it. I'm just going to use this 120 volt studio light. You can see here, I had it, my first thought was that you would put it at about 6 feet. What I found since is that actually just go with the default 0, because this is already set up to be a default of 8 feet, the height. Okay, so that's really important. You may or may not want them at 8 feet. I have found, at least in the test room, 8 feet's fine. But that's something you might want to play around with. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. All right, so I have it at 8 feet, and then I'm going to start just loading it in. Okay, so now I have that. If you have, well, let's just see what it looks like. So I'm gonna this maybe go ahead and decide this so we can kind of see what's happening kind of as we do it. So I'm just going to go to my reflective ceiling cleaning, so now we can see. All right, so let's just move that around the room. I'm not seeing a huge amount. You can kind of see now we have a hot spot. That's one thing to be aware of. You don't really want these very close to the walls or any surface. So you want to kind of keep it. There isn't quite a rule of thumb, but I would say we're going to create like a 5x5 grid of these. So you're not going to just place one. You can see what that's doing. It's got a little bit of light hitting that corner. Okay, but we'll just watch as I create, a few more. You see that that wall is starting to really be, um, have a little bit of lighting on it. So let's just imagine that I've got that row situated well. I could use the array command, but I'm wanting to kind of have you see it as it's being placed, kind of how it's affecting the room. And I also probably have, let me go look. Don't have auto exposure on. I just wanted to make sure that this was kind of being more honest. Whether or not you have auto exposure on is kind of depending on the view that you're rendering. Um, again, there's not really a rule of thumb. It's just really about what is making your rendering look most realistic. Okay, so now we can see that we have actually quite a bit of light um, going on in the space. Is it perfect? I'm not sure. I think I might still want to tweak. I may want to look at moving these a little bit further apart. So that's going to be kind of your own, as you build up. It also is going to depend on how much sunlight's coming in and whatnot. The other thing that you should think about when doing this is that I'm just going to go ahead and select all instances. Then I will go ahead and I will group these. So I'm going to go ahead and create all these my studio lights. And what that does is obviously allows me to control them, turn them on and off, move them around. If I need to edit it, I can just go ahead and edit the group and I'll do them all. But let's just really quick, we already kind of moved these to a corner and you kind of saw a hot spot. Let's just let's move them up in the world. So if like I say that instead of at 8 feet, I'm just going to add another 3 feet. Now they're sitting at 11 feet. So they're way too close to the ceiling. So you just got to be careful. Like if 8 feet, you have an 8 foot ceiling, they're going to be way too close to that. So you're going to have to kind of be aware of the architectural space that you're designing and make sure to float these kind of at a comfortable level. And I would say about 3 or 4 feet at least from any surface is a good rule of thumb. And then saw there for half a second, this cloud also can kind of play a part. So if I just move that up, say 2 feet, starting to reflect, and that may not be what I want, some clouds or whatnot. You just need to kind of be aware of what's going on and then move these to an appropriate height. And maybe it's negative. Yeah.